Good afternoon. Welcome to OptionsTender. It is Friday, March 28th, 2025. Now, I want to start off by first saying this has been a heck of a up and down trade here. But I'm telling you right now, we have screaming buys. We have screaming buys from our indicators. We're into support. And I'm going to show you all of these coming up. So if you're new here, go down to that bottom right-hand corner, hit that OptionsTender logo, and subscribe. All right, we're starting to pull out the big guns now in the Discord, and we are buying into this drop here. So we're doing this intraday about 218. Let me look, 218 Eastern Standard Time. So consider becoming a YouTube member. It's 99 cents if you want to get these intraday. Otherwise, you can wait for them to come out at 4 p.m. to the public. No big deal. It's just some way to help support the channel. So appreciate you guys. All right, so let's jump into it. I'm going to point out the put to call ratios. They're just, they're screaming. Everybody's on the put side. People are buying puts. They're looking at this as being a bear flag. It broke down. But listen, okay, every single flat pattern starts off with a move up, right? And then it has a bear flag. This bear flag broke down and then ripped. It happens every time. Bear flag. This one wasn't more like a bear flag, but still a flat pattern. Ripped. This could be an expanding flat or just the end of wave 5 there, but you see what happens. Fake breakdown underneath support and rips back up on a larger scale. Breaks down from a bear flag and then rips. Even if you had the flag over here covering these two longs, broke down, came back into support and ripped, okay? So that's the theme of everything. And I want to show you what these flat patterns do. All right, I'm digging a little bit closer. And once you have your rip to the upside, you break down. And this one came back to the 62%. All right. This one here came into support, spiked through it, ripped, and then retraced back to the 786. And this larger one, again, came underneath support, ripped higher, came back to the 62%, and you saw a bounce. And then this was a flat pattern within this flat pattern for the B wave. B waves are crazy. That's why you trade them light if you even trade them at all. So we bought some calls and they didn't work out for us, but now we have so much more information and we're buying. Okay. So, then it spiked back through that 62%, but it did hold on to it on the daily time frame. Okay. So what's happening right now? I believe the same thing's happening. We came down underneath support, ripped. We have a flat pattern, and I'll show you the retracements in a few minutes. But if you notice, we're right back into this buy zone that I have labeled green. Okay, so we hit the bottom of it, pulled the trigger, and what I think will happen is, and I don't usually talk about fundamental things, but we always have to keep an eye on catalysts, right? And we don't have any real big. We have jolts next week, but on Tuesday morning, I believe. But on Tuesday, the tariffs, the Trump tariffs are to come into play. All right, reciprocal tariffs. And I'm not going to talk about what they do, what they are. I don't really care. But I think either Monday or Tuesday, somewhere in that range, that that will be the catalyst. Maybe whoever comes to the table and comes out with a resolution for this. Okay, and I think that will be our catalyst going into Monday and Tuesday. We have timing into a low right now, and that could be today. We have a cluster. All right, let's look at everything, and I'll show you as we go. Okay, here's the moving averages. We're clearly against the trend right now, but we're into support. Okay, so this is obviously a risky trade. The risk is that in this situation, we make a new low and snap back up. With the daily time frame, we would have positive divergence in that case. But we're in this zone again, and I think momentum. We're trying to build structure onto it, so I don't believe we'll go lower than that. Here's a McClellan oscillator. Okay, came down to oversold territory again. All right, so this is huge. All right, back here, but I think we're going to make a higher low and then get to this overbought territory. Okay, I know that there's going to be a lot of bearish people, and they're saying you're fighting the trend. They're going to buy puts into the lows. And because they're scared, they're worried. This is a contrarian indicator, okay? And I know I'm not talking about buying today into 0 to date. I'm not talking about Monday. We're out a couple weeks, but I think when the snapback happens, I believe it's going to be very, very quick. I'm just using these as examples. When something like this happens, all green days. Comes back, all green days. I know there's some red in there. I'm emphasizing. Green days. Boom, boom. This is a larger scale, but you see what I mean. It's just almost straight up there. Okay, that's what I'm looking for. We have not completed a correction. And we're losing time in our cycles. So this snapback is going to be quick, and it's going to be ruthless and probably deeper than you think. All right. So going to the MACD, we have the OptionsTender setup. We already have a bull cross. Okay, I know we're checking back here, but we're in bullish territory. Histograms are green. We're heading higher. Already oversold. Again, making higher lows. We'll probably be able to watch this trend line from here. So I'll draw a trend line in here, and we'll see how that holds. So we're already back into oversold. We're at 28. We'll see how it closes. Probably going to close very bearish. And we may even go a little bit lower Monday. Oh, I forgot to mention, and we'll check out the VIX, but another indicator. We're at 20%, almost a 20% move today. And what that indicates is that probability is 1 or 2 days out, we're going to rally. It's possibly going to happen Monday. Mondays have been contrarian against Fridays, which has not been the case for a very, very long time. They usually follow what Friday does. So I wouldn't be surprised if Monday, we gapped down and snapped back up. But they have been opposite of Friday. So it may be a big green day to start off with a gap up. Slow stoke, cycling down. We have to see this start to curl back up. So again, I think this is going to cycle up. Let's go over to our DMARC. Just following this, we're back to a 1. We came down beyond 4 candles before, so this count starts over. Awesome oscillator. Still green. Still holding up green, and the trend is still up. All right, we're going to oscillate to the 0, probably above it, before heading lower. There's going to be huge short squeeze. Now, Monday could gap up and go. But again, I wouldn't be surprised. What typically happens is you'll have a reversal candle. So we do have a little bit lower prices, and we even have a gap here that we can go close and probably have a reversal candle and then head higher. But I didn't want to wait for that, and we'll add onto our positions if price does end up lower tomorrow. Let's go to SPY. On SPY, we have our money flow index. Still heading higher. I know price is going down, but the money's coming in. There's buyers in here, and it's going to snap higher. And we'll probably get into overbought conditions. Bollinger Band. Not quite to the bottom of the band. If we do get down there, we'll be in oversold conditions, and that will be another buy situation, and that's at 550. Okay, so that's assuming you close the gap. That Bollinger Band will probably be there again at about 550, 551. So we'll probably meet up there if price wants to go lower. All right, looking at the traditional look, we just had the bearish rising wedge, broke down, back tested, formed a trend down. I believe an impulse trend to the downside into the support area. And if you're new here, we get support from consolidation type areas. Okay, you have resistance and support. We consolidated here, and that's our zone. That's how we got our zone. So we're breaking down from that, and we're holding on to, guess what? Our good old megaphone pattern here. So will we touch it? I don't know if we actually tagged it, but it's right there. Okay, and we're back at the bottom in a support. I believe we're clawing a higher low. All right, back into that support. We fake break here, but I don't see that happening again. I think we're going to hold on to this, and we're going to rip next week. Let's change boards. We have some timing today. We have a little cluster timing today. So on a low, I believe now that this is an A. We saw our large B. We didn't know if that would happen or not. And then I can take these off now. But now that we have this information, yeah, price can go a little bit lower. But again, if it does, we're just creating a flat pattern. Is it a regular flat where you get an ABC, or do we expand down lower than the first wave? It's possible, but not probable. All right, and so our targets remain the same, even if we make a new low here because our wave one is in. Even if we make a new low here, our prices, our targets remain the same. I'm looking for target one is 582, and it's going to happen quick, you guys. 590, 582, 589, and 600. Again, I wouldn't be surprised if price got all the way up there. Obviously, I'm not going to play it. Well, not obviously. I'm not going to play it all the way to those levels, but we want the meat of the trade here. And that could happen to the a very large position to the 582. Take some profit, but we're not going to take profit anywhere near here. Okay? We're going to make it to the 50% at minimum, and then we're looking for 590. That's our zone. And then above there, I mean, it gets scary for the bearish scenario, but we'll have near-term calls, and then we'll add on more puts if we get up to these higher prices. Again, if you look at yesterday's video, you saw that on the reversals from the correction from like 2008, for example, I think I'd put it on the weekend video as well, that we spiked through the 62% on a daily time frame, and even in some instances closed 3 days above it, but never got to the 786 and fell from there. So you had a weekly wick through the 62%. Okay, so it doesn't mean if we just tag it, that's it. It could, But, you know, price likes to fake out as many people as you can. The stock market's not easy. Changing board. So we'll look for some things to happen within these clusters of next week. But I'm really not looking for any type of reversal until the end of, let's see here. Our lows, we're looking at 411. And so anywhere towards, I thought it was going to be earlier, but now we're looking for, I would say around 4 right here, this cluster, probably next week on the 4th by Friday, or that Monday after the 7th or 8th. I think we'll have our high in at this point. So that would be anywhere in this range over here. Okay. Here's 410. And I have to make some more time relationships as well now that we have a high in. And then I believe we'll have a low in by Monday. All right. Again, here's the board. We have a roadmap here. I'll post the video up above and at the end of this video for all the discussion on where I think the market's going. Let's go to the Qs. QQQ. Same thing. It's getting a real deep pullback. Do we make it all the way to here? It's possible. So if the tech market drags us tomorrow, Monday, and Tuesday drags us lower, makes a new low, but SPY makes a higher low. They do that often. It happens. It doesn't have to, but if it does, then obviously that will pull us down a little bit further in SPY. And this one will have a daily divergence with a lower low here, but that still is the same pattern. So we're getting into some support again. We might have just a little bit more to go, if not to that trend line that we're talking about with the megaphone. But we still have the same pattern. I have to update this one. Let's borrow these here. We thought the low was in actually right here, but now I am highly sure that this low is in. Meaning the wave one, not if it makes a new low here. That doesn't matter. It doesn't change anything. All the targets will be the same. So now we have a B wave that, since tech is leading everything, could go a little bit lower. There's a B wave, and then the C wave will spike us up to about the 50-60%, and we'll have to see exactly where SPY is as we tag 50% on SPY. Are the Qs hitting it at the same time, or are the Qs further or below? Those are some of the things that we have to look at the same time, okay, when we're looking for a reversal. All right, SMH. SMA, it's just a big reversal off here, right? So the same thing that I talked about yesterday. This one, this still could be an A, B, and then a C higher. But with this leading to the downside, I wouldn't be surprised if we had a relief bounce and probably make a new low here. I don't know that, but we're at support. It's not going to be underneath support for very long. Now, if this wants to just have a relief rally for a 1-2 setup, and this is much weaker and it heads lower sooner, that's possible too. But if it wants to follow the same thing that the market's going to do, we'll probably see 240 with this snapback rally. Okay, IWM. IWM holding on tight to that big, if you haven't been here, this is a huge range that played out for quite some time, almost 2 years, I believe. And here's the support area that we came into, and we're holding on to that. Looks the same as SPY, right? We're into that area. Haven't quite tagged the bottom of it. Could, but it doesn't have to. If you want to have a much more safe type trade, then wait for strength. All right, there's nothing wrong with that. Wait for this to play out. It could go lower, it could do whatever. And then after it snaps back and gets back above 200, 201, that would be buying into strength. And we should see, again, probably a tag of this trend line up here. Now, if the market's going to make new highs, maybe this breaks out from the channel and something else is happening. All right, DIA coming back into support, still looking for a higher low. Doubt that it comes down here, but again, we'll see how this goes. We're not trading DIA. If we do get that higher low, then we're looking for the top of the channel again. This really could, once it gets going, it loves to trend. So, but it consolidates for long periods of time. Now, we talked about the VIX. It got over 19. Okay, we broke out of that wedge or channel. We drew it two different ways, but I still think we're making it down lower. Okay, I think this is going to be an A, B, C. Now, do we start off Monday with a gap down and the VIX is into the 23 level? That's a possibility. That's a good zone to short. If you play the VIX, you can short the VIX at about 23 if it gets there. There's other, obviously it doesn't have to get there. It's at a minor level right now at 22. Okay, and with the moving averages on, you can see exactly why it's stalling. So we had a nice bounce off the 200 moving average, and now we're rejecting off the 20. Now with if I'm thinking that SPY gets the big rally that we're talking about, or the markets, then I think VIX will probably make a new low. Now, if it holds on to the 200 and barely comes down as price just spikes higher, then you can make a higher low off the 200 moving average. You know, it doesn't have to play out. Obviously, it doesn't have to play out. I didn't think it was going to play out like this anyway. So, but I do think we make new lows if price does get that relief rally off a tariff talk or whatever the case may be. All right. So let's go through some of these things on the 65 minute. And this is equivalent to the hourly. I just use these so all candles are the same throughout the trading day. All right. And so we have our megaphone bottom here. We're tagging that. We're in the buy area. And then that created, this support was created by the spike through here. All right. I don't think we make it down here. It's possible that we close the gap, but not, again, not looking for that. But we're out far enough to, if price goes down here, we're fine for the snapback. Because this will be fast. It will be fast. It will be furious. It's going to be relentless. All right, so you had your bear flag breakdown. And if this were Armageddon, then this is it. And then you just keep going lower. I don't think this is the case. I just think we're forming a bottom and we're looking for a rally. We didn't know if this would hold. We didn't know if this was the 1-2 setup, 3, 4, 5. But now we know after this that this was all an A wave. We're rejecting into a B wave and we're looking for higher prices when this settles. And I think this will be the spot for a rally. All right, let's look at our setup here. Okay, MACD just heading lower. We're going to start to get the histogram to move up, so we'll keep an eye on that. But we're already well oversold. Okay, we're into the 11 range in the RSI. That with that comes very typical a bounce after. Slow Stoke, same thing. Cycled all the way to the lows here. I think this starts to cycle up, and then you'll have your buy signal. You'll have an early one with a cross here, and then a cross above 20 will be your buy signal. DMARC. Yes, DMARC. We had the 9 buy signal here. Obviously that broke down. So now we're looking at a 9-9 buy signal. All right, that's a great setup. We have a wedge forming here. And you know what? I usually leave all of the trades for individual analysis, but if you stick around, I'll go ahead and show Nvidia at the end here. It looks very similar to the market. Okay, awesome oscillator. Well into negative territory. We'll look for this to cycle up. Nothing to really gauge off of at this point. Bollinger Band. We're pressing hard through the bottom end of the Bollinger Band. That's a huge buy signal on the 65-minute. Well oversold. Breaking the Bollinger Band. This is a buy. Okay, let's move over to time and price. Here's our beautiful cluster today. So that's why I'm thinking today could be the bottom. All right, now SPX did not tag the 786. It's a few points off of there. So we could actually go just a little bit lower today. But if this is the bottom, this is a beautiful time and price cluster. So I'll take these off. We know that's in. We're looking for a bottom. Now, the 786 is from this entire move. Sorry about that. 786 is from the entire A wave. And now your typical flat pattern hits this zone from the 786 to the 887. So this is our buy zone. Now I know it can expand. I know that it could have come down to the 50% and took off. You never know. That's why the B wave is so hard. And it could be, it could be a triangle. It could be all sorts of things. So we're looking at this in a buy zone already. We tagged this already, but I do suspect, since the SPX didn't touch it yet, that we do have a few more points at minimum to go. And if we gap down to lower prices, we'll add on some closer dated calls at that point. So we're looking for that C wave at this point. We're looking for a rally into probably one of these clusters over here, maybe 4-9. There's 4-4 here. That seems a little bit aggressive. So 4-9 perhaps. And I want to leave, let's see here. We're looking at a 6% rally from this point. If we go a little bit lower, then that will increase about a 6% rally into the 62% retracement or even higher. So we'll move this out to here and here. All right. Let's go to the Qs. 65. We're into support. Lower end of the options expected move. We made a full turn. Now this doesn't happen often where you hit both ends of the options expected move. So we played probabilities. We thought the low was going to be here. Clearly broke down. May make new lows. May make a double bottom. Even if it does make a new low a little bit lower, we still consider that a double bottom and is going to rip higher. Again, probably into these ranges here, all the way up to maybe 520. So probably some sort of 9% move or so. Let's say 510. I think that's our target. Okay, no, we're looking at more like 512. All right, so we know that this count is not correct at this point. And we'll just keep this on here. Looking for a 9% rally. So we know that our And if you're a bull looking for new highs, this has to be a 1. This is a 1, but I highly doubt that. This looks like an A, B, C for a larger degree A. Get this nice big B wave. And now we're looking for wave 1, 2, and this is going to be a relentless move. The 1 and 2 might be real sharp. Okay? That could happen, but then after that, I believe it's just going to be relentless if it doesn't just completely fire straight up anyway. On the daily time frame, it should look just straight up green candles. Excellent setup, you guys. All right, so right now we're making a double bottom in SMH. And it doesn't surprise me, but this might go just a little bit lower to make new lows. Okay, and like I said, we'll look at Nvidia. Actually, we'll look at it right now. Look at that. Options expect to move from one end to the other. Let's look at it right now. And so Nvidia is relatively stronger, and it looks more like the market. So it looks like we have an A, B, and we're looking for a C rally into about 130 or so, 129. All right, and we're forming this bullish falling wedge, and I believe it still may have just a little bit more to go. That would probably give SMH a new low, creating a double bottom. And we're looking at about 108.64, and that closes the gap here. And also, that gives us the 786 retracement. And you know, obviously that's a zone. We can go all the way down to the 887 at about 106.82. And then we'll look for the move up to a 50% retracement here. It's 129. So that takes us right to the top of the channel. All right, we also have a timing low today, so that's something to look at. Awesome. So again, we do these within the Discord, and we also do these for the individual analysis. A lot of times I'll go through all the tech stocks, and every once in a while, in a bear market, I don't go through them as much. When we're in an uptrend, I usually do a lot more individual analysis, because the market and the downside, you make plenty of money on the downside with just the indices itself. You don't really need to juice them up with individual names, but you know, I'd like to keep that open for my members. All right, so quickly get through the rest. IWM, one end to the other. That's just huge moves, you guys. Great volatility. I did not trade anything to the downside. I've just been waiting and waiting and waiting. And now we have the nice setup to the upside. It's a screaming buy. We have the downtrend line up here, about 214. All right, rejected off of the downtrend line here. I think the next time it'll break out from it and then perhaps get to another downtrend. And we'll put that in later. VIX, our VIX, again rejecting off of the 20 moving average. It's our trend indicator. Does this go a little bit higher and tag up the 23? That's possible, so we'll keep that in mind going into Monday, but I think that'll be about it at that point. After that, I think this makes you can consider it a back test at this point. I'm looking at this right now, so we'll consider this a channel at this point. Well, I'll leave both in just in case, but I think it's more likely if this does break down, you can consider this a back test. It could make new lows here because of you know, how it happens in time, and then perhaps we could even come down to the 16-15. Our original targets there. I know this is drawn just a little bit different than daily time frame, and then we have some gaps below here. So we'll see how the VIX acts as price moves higher on SPY. All right, so that is it, you guys. I hope this information helps. This is a fantastic bullish setup for a rip your face off rally. It is finally coming about. We've been waiting for this moment, so let's see what happens next week. Let's see what catalyst occurs. Most likely the tariff relief. We'll see how that goes, okay? So thanks for joining us here at OptionsTender. Good luck trading. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. We'll see you in the weekend analysis.